Chapter 753, Beaten Up, 4. Before Li Jingwen sensed her, Yi Qingtang suddenly lifted her hand, grabbed Li Jingwen by the collar, and hurled him away instantly. All Li Jingwen felt was a huge force at the back of his neck, and he simply had no room to resist. Yi Qingtang raised her leg and landed a powerful kick on Li Jingwen's lower back. In the next second, Li Jingwen was sent flying several meters away before hitting a tree trunk and crashing on the ground with a thud. All of this happened within a breath's time. Everyone in Blue Cloud Peak was stunned. The Blue Cloud Peak disciples widened their eyes in disbelief as they watched their eldest senior brother, who was unparalleled in their hearts, being beaten up without being able to retaliate. How can it be? Eldest senior brother? But why is he? The Blue Cloud Peak disciples, who were still truculent and cocky initially, could not laugh anymore now as they looked at Li Jingwen, who was sprawled on the ground, with their jaws dropped. Even Yan Shu was utterly dumbfounded. He had sparred with Li Jingwen before as well and naturally knew how frightening Li Jingwen's skills were. However, currently, Li Jingwen could only be beaten up in Yi Qingtang's hands. Li Jingwen scrambled up. Yi Qingtang's light-looking kick almost broke his spine, and it was as if his entire body was falling apart. Looking at the suspecting gazes of his junior brothers in the surroundings, Li Jingwen's face darkened to an extreme. To think that his face was thrown in front of everyone because of Yi Qingtang despite his position at Blue Cloud Peak. You have the guts. Li Jingwen clenched his fists suddenly, and a soaring aura suddenly spread around him. A powerful torrent-like spirit energy surged towards Li Jingwen wildly, and his skin seemed to be covered in a layer of blue light in an instant. Flying Dragon Inner Qi. Yan Shu was alarmed to see the blue ray surrounding Li Jingwen. The Flying Dragon Inner Qi was one of Falling Sky Valley's many profound techniques with an extremely powerful attack ability. It could raise one's potential within a short period of time and was truly one of the most powerful killing moves. Yan Shu never expected Li Jingwen to have acquired the Flying Dragon Inner Qi. It was no wonder Li Jingwen's skills improved immensely over this period of time since he cultivated this powerful cultivation technique in secret. Not only can the Flying Dragon Inner Qi increase one's strength and speed, but it could even allow one's defense to double. Presently, Li Jingwen was forced to unleash his Flying Dragon Inner Qi, making it evident that he would battle it out with Yi Qingtang until she was killed. Yi Qingtang looked at Li Jingwen, who could no longer restrain his anger, and the ball of blue light indifferently. The smile on her face never faded a bit. I want you dead. Li Jingwen shouted and suddenly turned into a blinding blue light as he charged towards Yi Qingtang. Yi Qingtang looked down slightly, sweeping away the murderous intent in her eyes. A wild gust of wind lifted her long hair up, and Li Jingwen's aura inched closer rapidly. Right at the crucial moment, Yi Qingtang suddenly looked up, and she seemed to carelessly raise her hand that was dangling beside her. In the next second, however, her hand clutched on Li Jingwen's fist that he had put all his force in. Don't disgrace yourself with your smattering cultivation technique. Chapter 754, Beaten Up, 5. Li Jingwen opened his eyes wide in disbelief. He channeled all his Flying Dragon Inner Qi into his fist, and it was held easily by Yi Qingtang. No matter how much strength he put in, his fist could not get closer anymore. Li Jingwen, that's all you have? Yi Qingtang lifted her brows slightly. She smiled as she stared at Li Jingwen, whose face was pale. Yi Qingtang's hand that was grabbing Li Jingwen's fist suddenly rotated, and she snatched his wrist to pull him towards herself. Li Jingwen was pulled over. His strength was totally incomparable to Yi Qingtang's. The moment half of Li Jingwen's body was pulled over, Yi Qingtang raised the other hand and smashed onto his face. Li Jingwen flew out under the force of the punch. The originally handsome face was totally ruined under Yi Qingtang's punch. His skin was torn and bones broken. A few teeth that were stained with blood and a pool of blood spurted out from his mouth. Li Jingwen collapsed on the ground. His eyes were rolled up and blood filled his mouth. He appeared to be extremely confounded with a few missing teeth. You're really too weak. Yi Qingtang's head tilted as she looked at Li Jingwen, who collapsed on the ground and was unable to get up. Her sight then landed on the other Blue Cloud Peak disciples who were shocked. The previously arrogant Blue Cloud Peak disciples were scared by Yi Qingtang's one glance and stepped back. Their faces were all pale. At that moment, Yi Qingtang was like a monster in their eyes. The strongest disciple in Blue Cloud Peak was beaten by Yi Qingtang. How would they dare to be arrogant anymore? Who else needs my apology? Yi Qingtang raised a brow. No one of the Blue Cloud Peak dared to make any sound as they were scared that they would face the same consequences as Li Jingwen. Furthermore, their abilities were lower than Li Jingwen. They were much weaker than him. Listen up. If anyone who's still not satisfied, come and find me. If I know anyone that still bullies my senior and junior brothers of the Admirable Sky Peak, no matter what's the excuse, he'll beat you to death, Yi Qingtang said coldly. The Blue Cloud Peak disciples were all frightened. No one dared to say anything. Yi Qingtang's intention was reached, and she was not willing to stay at the Blue Cloud Peak anymore. She turned and said towards Yen Shu, who was still in shock, "Senior brother Yen, things are settled here. Let's head back." She turned and left after finishing her words. Yen Shu was shocked for a while before he regained his consciousness. He turned to look at Li Jingwen instinctively and felt numb. Yen Shu's mind was complicated as he stared at Yi Qingtang's back view. Junior brother Yi was more terrifying than he imagined. Yen Shu was slightly worried in his heart. Junior brother Yi was powerful, but how would this incident come to a close now that he beat Li Jingwen? Yen Shu shook his head and dispersed all his thoughts. He then followed up. After Yi Qingtang and Yen Shu left, the Blue Cloud Peak disciples then realized the situation and sent the unconscious Li Jingwen to the doctor. Chapter 755. Finding Troubles on the Door, 1. After leaving the Blue Cloud Peak, Yi Qingtang headed back to her room, and Yen Shu returned to the Admirable Sky Peak. Many disciples were curious about whether Yi Qingtang apologized. However, Yen Shu did not have the mood to talk about that at all. Yi Qingtang went to apologize? She almost beat Li Jingwen to death. Yen Shu felt that his anger was relieved when Yi Qingtang beat Li Jingwen up, but he was very worried. He then wanted to tell the perfected Shenshin about that. However, before Yen Shu reported to the perfected Shenshin, the Blue Cloud Peak Master came over. The Admirable Sky Peak disciples were shocked when they saw the Blue Cloud Peak Master appear at the Admirable Sky Peak. The chief disciple of the Blue Cloud Peak, Li Jingwen, just came to find trouble in the morning. How come the Peak Master of the Blue Cloud Peak came over personally as well in the afternoon? How serious was the trouble that Yi Qingtang made? Did she not apologize to the Blue Cloud Peak? How come the Peak Master of the Blue Cloud Peak was here as well? Yen Shu felt his head was going to explode when he saw the Peak Master of the Blue Cloud Peak. Perfected Shenshin came over as he heard the news. He saw the Blue Cloud Peak Master's face was clouded. The Peak Master was standing in the crowd of Admirable Sky Peak disciples along with a few Blue Cloud Peak disciples. Valley Master. The Blue Cloud Peak Master was above 50 years old with gray temples. His level of cultivation made him appear mighty. When he saw the perfected Shenshin, he just addressed him without any emotion. There was no trace of respect at all. Perfected Shenshin did not know what had happened, and he felt curious. When he was still the Admirable Sky Peak Master, he was not in good terms with the Blue Cloud Peak Master. It was rare for them to meet after he became the Valley Master. How come today he would come to the Admirable Sky Peak personally? May I know what requires you to come here personally today? Perfected Shenshin asked. The Blue Cloud Peak Master sneered. I came not for other things but your new disciple, Valley Master. You're talking about Yi Qin? Perfected Shenshin was slightly stunned. He took Yi Qingtang in by exception, but he did not have time to guide him on his cultivation as he was occupied for the past few days. He planned to take some time to guide him. Yet, unexpectedly, how come Yi Qingtang was connected to the Blue Cloud Peak Master? That's him. The Blue Cloud Peak Master scoffed. What did he do? Perfected Zuanshan's face was calm. What did he do? Why don't you ask himself? The Blue Cloud Peak Master's face was more unpleasant as he mentioned Yi Qingtang. If his disciples did not report to him today, he would not even know that Perfected Zuanshan's new disciple dared to bully his disciples. Perfected Xianxun was confused. Yan Shu was anxious but did not say anything due to the presence of the Blue Cloud Peak Master. The Blue Cloud Peak Master took a glimpse at his disciples and said, "Tell the Valley Master, what did Yichen do?" The Blue Cloud Peak disciples bowed to Perfected Xianxun and said, "Valley Master, Yichen injured a few of our disciples a few days ago. He came to the Blue Cloud Peak with Yan Shu just now and tried to provoke conflicts. Our senior brother tried to ask him to stop, but he did not listen and injured our senior brother." Chapter 756 Finding Troubles on the Door, 2. When the Blue Cloud Peak disciple finished his words, all the Admirable Sky Peak disciples who were present were stunned. They only knew about the first half of the content he said. However, Yi Qingtang beat Li Jingwen? When did that happen? The Admirable Sky Peak disciples were all shocked, but they did not dare to say anything. They could only pay attention to their conversations. Yichen beat and injured Li Jingwen? Perfected Xianxun was slightly shocked. He was aware of Li Jingwen's ability since he was the chief disciple of Blue Cloud Peak. However, Yi Qingtang had only entered the valley for a few days. How could she injure Li Jingwen? The Blue Cloud Peak Master sneered. How could it be fake? Valley Master, your disciple is very cruel. Li Jingwen is still in a coma and has multiple injuries. If you do not believe me, you can check it out yourself. Perfected Xianxun frowned and looked towards Yan Shu. Yan Shu, is that true? Yan Shu's name was called, and he had to reply. Yes, but, Valley Master, you disciple confirmed that as well. What else do you have to say? The Blue Cloud Peak Master did not even give Yan Shu any time to explain. Perfected Xuanxun's face clouded and said towards Yan Shu, "Ask Yichen to come here now." He then looked at the Blue Cloud Peak Master and said, "Yichen is my disciple. If he really injured his senior brother, you'll punish him heavily. I know that you are always fair, Valley Master. I hope you will settle this incident impartially as well," the Blue Cloud Peak Master said. Of course. Perfected Xuanxun's face was expressionless. Everyone then waited for Yi Qingtang's arrival. The Admirable Sky Peak disciples all had a complex state of mind. They thought that Yi Qingtang was a timid person that only knew how to cause trouble. However, she had the nerve to go to the Blue Cloud Peak and beat Li Jingwen. Though they all knew Perfected Xuanxun's concern, they all were enraged by Li Jingwen's behaviors today. Now, after knowing that Yi Qingtang beat Li Jingwen heavily, everyone felt relieved, especially those who were injured by Li Jingwen. Soon, Yan Shu led Yi Qingtang over. Yi Qingtang walked over calmly under everyone's gaze. When she raised her eyes, she saw the Blue Cloud Peak Master, whose face was clouded, and Perfected Xianxun, whose face was slightly darkened. Yan Shu told her that the Blue Cloud Peak Master was here to find trouble with her on their way here. She was clear of the situation now. "Master." Yi Qingtang kept her thoughts and bowed to Perfected Xianxun. Perfected Xianxun stared at Yi Qingtang, who had become his disciple for only a while now, and nodded. "Yichen, have you been to the Blue Cloud Peak today?" he asked. Though Yi Qingtang became his disciple for a while only, he was still his own disciple. He would not stand at the side. If he really made a mistake, he would punish him heavily. However, if the Blue Cloud Peak Master fabricated the truth, he would not allow that to happen. "Yes." Yi Qingtang replied without any hesitation. "Did you fight against Li Jingwen and injure him?" Perfected Xianxun felt that based on Yi Qingtang's age, his ability should not be above Li Jingwen's. "That's true." Yi Qingtang nodded. Perfected Xuanxun's sight was more serious now. The Blue Cloud Peak Master heard that Yi Qingtang confessed and scoffed immediately. "Valley Master, things are clear now. Please settle it fairly and punish Yichen to relieve our anger." Furthermore, when I went over to look for senior brother Li, he said in front of everyone that he was practicing with me. Senior brother Yan and all the Blue Cloud Peak disciples who were present could prove that. Yi Qingtang added. The Blue Cloud Peak disciples' faces were unpleasant. Li Jingwen really did say that before. The Blue Cloud Peak Master's expression turned ugly. I did not expect that senior brother Li would be so weak. I thought that as the chief disciple of the Blue Cloud Peak, he must be very powerful, so I did not hold back. However, I didn't know that he was so weak. If I knew that earlier, I would not use my full strength. Yi Qingtang stared at the Blue Cloud Peak Master with an innocent expression. The Blue Cloud Peak Master almost fainted upon hearing her words. His chief disciple was weak? Too weak for her to compete with. Chapter 758 So It's My Fault? 2. The Admirable Sky Peak disciples at the side finally understood what was going on. They tried to control their laughter upon hearing Yi Qingtang's words. Li Jingwen was too weak? He was the strongest disciple of the Blue Cloud Peak. Everyone felt that Yi Qingtang did the right thing when they recalled how Li Jingwen showed off at the Admirable Sky Peak earlier. However, they did not dare to reveal their thoughts on their faces. Perfected Xuanqian's sight landed on Yi Qingtang as he noticed how unpleasant the Blue Cloud Peak Master's expression was. His sight was complex. The Blue Cloud Peak Master was speechless. What could he say? Was he going to say that he came here to stand up for his disciple as he was too weak and beaten during practice? The Blue Cloud Peak Master's aggressiveness was all replaced by depression now. He knew what Yi Qingtang was thinking about. However, the meaning changed in her words. She was totally unreasonable. The Blue Cloud Peak Master frowned heavily. The fight between Yi Qingtang and Li Jingwen had become a practice now. Even if Li Jingwen was heavily injured, as the Peak Master, he should not interfere with disciples' practice. Such practices were common in the Falling Sky Valley. No one would drag the elders and the wardens to ask for compensation if he lost. The Blue Cloud Peak Master could not do anything to Yi Qingtang then. Perfected Xianxun stared at the Blue Cloud Peak Master's changing face and understood the situation. The Blue Cloud Peak Master should not have anything to say. Mind the limits even if it's a practice in the future, Perfected Xianxun said slowly. I understand. I will be cautious of the limits. If my opponent is too weak, I will not use my full strength in order to maintain peace, Yi Qingtang said. The Blue Cloud Peak Master's face clouded upon hearing Perfected Xianxun and Yi Qingtang's conversations. Opponent is too weak? Is she talking about Li Jingwen? The Blue Cloud Peak Master took a deep breath and suppressed his unpleasantness. If he showed his anger now, he would be making a big fuss over a small issue. Valley Master, I still have things going on in the Blue Cloud Peak. I shall leave first, the Blue Cloud Peak Master said with a dark face. Okay. Perfected Xianxun nodded slightly. The Blue Cloud Peak Master led his disciples, whose faces were unpleasant, away. Perfected Xianxun did not say anything since the incident was ended. He glanced at Yi Qingtang with thoughts and left. After Perfected Xianxun left, the Admirable Sky Peak disciples all surrounded Yi Qingtang and asked, Senior Brother Yi, you really beat Li Jingwen? Many Admirable Sky Peak disciples were triggered by Yi Qingtang offending the Blue Cloud Peak disciples and causing Li Jingwen to find troubles here. However, Yi Qingtang did not hide and beat him up instead. Many disciples who had resentment all felt relieved now. Their aversion towards the new Valley Master's disciple was slightly reduced. Yi Qingtang did not know where to start as she was surrounded by Admirable Sky Peak disciples and questioned by them. Yan Shu sighed slowly as Yi Qingtang was slightly accepted by the rest. Chapter 759 So It's My Fault? 3. Don't stand here. Go back to your cultivation and don't be lazy. Yan Shu saved Yi Qingtang from the predicament. The disciples could only return to their positions for cultivation, but they were still bothered by the incident. Yi Qingtang greeted Yan Shu and left. Yan Shu's sight was complex as he stared at Yi Qingtang's fading back. Guihan and the rest all returned to the Admirable Sky Peak at night. They heard about the incident that happened today once they were back. The Blue Cloud Peak is way too extreme. How dare they find trouble here? Qianze's face clouded once he heard about that. At least the incident is contained. Though junior brother Yi was slightly impetuous, he managed to end it off. Yan Shu sighed softly. He felt that the new disciple that Master took in was different from other disciples. His temper was totally different from others. Even Qianze and Yi Ningxi, who were not disciplined, also did not cause any trouble under Perfected Xuanqian's warning, but Yi Qingtang, he caused such a big incident when he just entered the valley. It was lucky that the level of the incident did not increase. If not, there would be much trouble waiting for them. Impetuous? I don't think so. Though junior brother Yi is young, he settled things neatly. Yi Ningxi took a glance at Yan Shu and said, Yan Shu, you are too cautious. Master asked us to behave, but not to the extent that we all become cowards. How could we let Li Jingwen go when he beat our disciples? I would definitely fight him with my life if I were present. Fight with your life? You should think about this when you are stronger than him. Qian Zhe smiled and said. Once he finished his words, Yi Ningxi took a cold glimpse at him. Yin Qingluo did not say anything all the time, but she took a heavy breath and said, Junior brother Yes' ability is stronger than we think. And I don't think that his behavior was wrong. Since Master became the Valley Master, disciples of other peaks constantly provoked us. We tried to tolerate and back off. However, what's the result? They're just getting more presumptuous. Yin Qingluo's words let everyone immerse in thoughts. They were still fine as they were perfected Zuanshan's disciples. However, the normal disciples of the Admirable Sky Peak suffered from injustice. Even though they had to care for the big picture, no one would feel good with such injustice. Everything now is for the harmony of Falling Sky Valley. Master must have his thoughts, Yan Shu said. Gu Yihan frowned slightly and did not say anything. Ji Xuan, on the other hand, was interested in his new junior brother. Yan Shu, you were present when junior brother Yi fought with Li Jingwen. And since we won, who do you think is stronger? Our senior brother or him? Qian Zhe asked as he tried to stir up some trouble. Yan Shu was stunned. Junior brother Yi. Gu Yihan glanced at Qian Zhe. Qian Zhe shrugged his shoulders and said, I just asked. They discussed for a while but came to no conclusion. However, as a new disciple who just entered the valley, it was really beyond their expectations that Yi Qingtang could cause such troubles. But it was just the beginning. Yi Qingtang returned to the Falling Sky Valley to prevent the tragedy in her previous life from happening again. Chapter 760 Just You Wait. 1. Perfected Xianxin was a kind and extremely magnanimous person. Otherwise, Yi Qingtang would not have the chance to be apprenticed to him despite not having a spirit root. To perfected Xianxin, Yi Qingtang was filled with respect and gratitude for his help in her previous life. Exactly because of that, all the more she must not let things slide down to the chaos that Falling Sky Valley fell into and the murder of perfected Xianxin in her previous life. Forbearance would never be able to compel true conviction. Since Admirable Sky Peak disciples had not realized this point, she would use her own actions to let them understand this logic. The Li Jingwen matter had passed for a few days, and Admirable Sky Peak disciples settled down. As Yi Qingtang cultivated with the spirit energy in Falling Sky Valley, she thought about what to do next. She would also occasionally head to Admirable Sky Peak and take a look at the place where the disciples cultivated. The Admirable Sky Peak disciples' attitude towards Yi Qingtang seemed to have changed a little. On the other side on Blue Cloud Peak, the bruised Li Jingwen was sitting in an arbor with a gloomy expression. His fists that rested on the stone table were tightly clenched as a sinister look filled his eyes. Senior brother Li. A Blue Cloud Peak disciple looked at the unhappy Li Jingwen nervously. Ever since Li Jingwen was beaten up by Yi Qingtang a few days ago, he had been unconscious for days and had only woken up yesterday. Although there was no fatal injury, the punch that Yi Qingtang threw on his face completely ruined his handsome face. While body injuries could be healed easily, a broken nose bone would still look a little crooked even if it was regrown. Did the Yi Qin really tell Master that? Li Jingwen said coldly as he looked at the junior brother beside him. That day, Master went to Admirable Sky Peak to punish Yi Qin, but who knew that Yi Chen would be so cunning? That disciple nodded his head and told Li Jingwen about the incident where the Blue Cloud Peak Master went to Admirable Sky Peak. What a man, Yi Chen! Li Jingwen gritted his teeth with narrowed eyes. Falling Sky Valley had its own rules. Interdisciple learning was completely allowed. Even if he lost his life by accident, it was also within Falling Sky Valley's rules, much less sustaining severe injuries. This kind of matter was not what a peak master could interfere in. Even elders and wardens would not step forward to say anything. After all, it was merely interdisciple learning. Li Jingwen snickered and stood up. Senior brother Li, Master wants you to recuperate in this period of time. What are you planning to do now? That disciple asked Li Jingwen. Li Jingwen took a deep breath and said, Why are you making such a big fuss? Chapter 761 Just You Wait, 2. Li Jingwen immediately headed to find Watercut Peak's top disciple, Lu Mo, after obtaining the blue sea-connected sky painting. Lu Mo was tall and good-looking. If Li Jingwen was said to be Falling Sky Valley's superior disciple, then Lu Mo was one of Falling Sky Valley's top disciples. Although Li Jingwen was about the same age as Lu Mo, there was quite a gap in their skills, and even the proud Li Jingwen had to be courteous to Lu Mo, senior brother Lu. Li Jingwen immediately went forward to Lu Mo with a smile. Junior brother Li? Seeing that Li Jingwen came to find him so suddenly, Lu Mo's eyes had a trace of confusion. Why are you looking for me today, junior brother Li? Li Jingwen smiled. There's nothing much. I've long heard that senior brother Lu likes books and paintings. When I was out a few months ago, I happened to obtain a blue sea-connected sky painting. I don't have anything on today, so I'm here to bring it to you. Blue sea-connected sky painting? Lu Mo was a little stunned. The blue sea-connected sky painting was created by a famous painter. It was said that the Nine Knights dynasty imperial family kept it, but unexpectedly, it was in Li Jingwen's hands now. It was not an exaggeration to describe this painting as priceless. When Li Jingwen saw Lu Mo's reaction, he immediately handed him the blue sky-connected sky painting that he had prepared a long time ago. Since the peak masters of both peaks were on good terms, Li Jingwen and Lu Mo were also friends. Lu Mo unrolled the blue sky-connected sky painting, and his eyes brightened immediately. How can I accept this item? Lu Mo asked. Li Jingwen smiled. I don't have much knowledge about books and paintings. Since you like it, I'll just offer it to you. Lu Mo hesitated for a moment. Since he could not decline it politely, he accepted it without saying anything. The two of them sat down at an arbor nearby. It was then that Lu Mo noticed that Li Jingwen's originally handsome face seemed a little twisted now. There were patches of blue-black on his face, and a part of his straight nose sunk for some reason, sticking out like a sore thumb. Junior brother Li, what happened to your face? Lu Mo asked curiously. Fastest update at VIP novel. Calm, a glint flashed across Li Jingwen's eyes, but he put on an expression as though he had come across a helpless issue. He sighed gloomily. Excuse me, senior brother Lu. Please don't laugh at me. The injuries on my face are caused by an Admirable Sky Peak disciple. What? An Admirable Sky Peak disciple? You sparred with Guihan? Lu Mo was taken aback. He was aware of Li Jingwen's skills, and in the entire Admirable Sky Peak, only Guihan could have a fight with him. Li Jingwen shook his head with a bitter laugh. It's not Guihan but a disciple whom perfected Xianxin just accepted, Yichin. Lu Mo frowned slightly. Is he that fellow who got in through the back door? Lu Mo had heard a thing or two about perfected Xianxin accepting a disciple as an exception. Yes. Li Jingwen nodded. He injured you? Lu Mo's brows were furrowed even more deeply. Li Jingwen said, Yichin is too arrogant. He just entered the valley and relied on the fact that his master is the valley master to beat up my Blue Cloud Peak's junior brothers. I went to demand an explanation, but unexpectedly, I did not see him. I originally planned to let things be, but who would have thought that Yichin is actually so arrogant? He rushed to the Blue Cloud Peak and made a wild talk. I persuaded him nicely, but who knew he would attack me? Li Jingwen continued. Chapter 762 Just You Wait, 3. There's actually such a thing? A trace of unhappiness could be seen on Lu Mo's face. Is perfected Xianxin not putting him in check? Lu Mo asked. You also know how he entered the valley. How would perfected Xianxin exercise authority over him? I'm afraid that he dared to do this because perfected Xianxin signaled him to beat up other peak's disciples. Li Jingwen's tone was increasingly helpless. My master originally wanted to seek justice for me, but the Yichin had a sharp tongue and said that it was interdisciple learning. Thus, my master could not intervene. Li Jingwen explained. It's all because I was not his opponent. I allowed Admirable Sky Peak to have an even more domineering influence for nothing. Li Jingwen varnished the truth and narrated with grievances. Lu Mo's expression darkened. When the Valley Master was heavily injured back then, they had no choice but to appoint an acting Valley Master. In the entire Falling Sky Valley, the strongest peak was Full Moon Peak. Moreover, the Full Moon Peak's Peak Master was very close to his master. If the Full Moon Peak's Peak Master assumed the position of Valley Master, there would not be a single objection in Watercut Peak. However, no one would have thought. The acting Valley Master position actually landed in the hands of Admirable Sky Peak's Peak Master, Perfected Xianxun. It should be known that Admirable Sky Peak and Watercut Peak were equally matched in skills, and Perfected Xuanxun's skills was about the same as his master's. Watercut Peak naturally refused to accept Perfected Xianxun as the Valley Master. However, the old Valley Master had made up his mind already, and the other Peak Masters could only agree. Yet, they only agreed and did not accept it. Lu Mo all the more refused to accept this decision as final. If Perfected Xianxun could be the acting Valley Master, why couldn't his master? Their skills were clearly on par with each other. Perhaps, the Admirable Sky Peak people also knew that there was something wrong with Perfected Xianxun being the Valley Master. Thus, they were extremely cautious and always yielded to others over this period of time. Yet, unexpectedly, Perfected Xuanxun's new disciple was actually this vicious. Junior brother Li, since the Yi Chen likes to learn from others so much, I will give him a chance too. A glint passed Lu Mo's eyes. Perfected Xianxun snatched the Valley Master position, and Lu Mo would definitely not let his disciple act so impudently in the valley. Li Jingwen was delighted the moment he heard it. He had sensed that Lu Mo disliked Admirable Sky Peak and thus approached him today to request for his help. Lu Mo's skills were equally matched to Admirable Sky Peak's top disciple, Gui Han, and even had a sign of defeating Gui Han. If Lu Mo struck, that Yi Qingtang would definitely not have a chance of winning. It would be best if you can beat that Yi Chen up, Li Jingwen said with a smile. Didn't Yi Qingtang say that it was interdisciple learning? He will let her properly taste the consequences of her own actions then. Junior brother Li, if you're free, make a trip to Admirable Sky Peak with me, Lu Mo said. Sure. Li Jingwen would obviously not reject as he was eager to personally witness Yi Qingtang being beaten up to death by Lu Mo. The two of them immediately rose and wanted to make a move. Before they left, a Watercut Peak disciple came over hurriedly and told Lu Mo, Senior brother Lu, Senior brother Xianyuan of Full Moon Peak sent someone to relay a message to you that he invited you to have a drink together tonight. Upon hearing Senior brother Xianyuan of Full Moon Peak, Li Jingwen's heart could not help but tremble. The Senior brother Xianyuan, whom this disciple mentioned, was Falling Sky Valley's #1 talent, Xianyuan Lai. Senior brother Lu, since Senior brother Xianyuan is looking for you, why don't we go to Admirable Sky Peak tomorrow instead? Even if he was eager to seek revenge, Li Jingwen was very cautious after hearing Xianyuan Lai's name. Chapter 763 Interdisciples Learning 1. Xianyuan Lai was a ranked disciple in Falling Sky Valley. He was Full Moon Peak's top disciple and the grandson of Full Moon Peak's Peak Master. Xianyuan Lai was extremely gifted and was personally taught by Full Moon Peak's Peak Master since young. Although he was so young, his skills were already amazing. Given Xianyuan Lai's skills, even someone at an elder level in Falling Sky Valley might not be his opponent. While Blue Cloud Peak leaned towards Full Moon Peak, Li Jingwen did not have a slight chance of interacting with Xianyuan Lai and only met him a few times without any chance to speak. It could be said that Xianyuan Lai was the representative of the most powerful disciple in Falling Sky Valley, and the icon who countless disciples wanted to emulate after. Lu Mo shook his head. There's no need. Since Senior brother Xianyuan asked me out for a drink at night, it does not interfere with me going to beat Yi Chen up now. That's good then. Li Jingwen smiled. Help me reply to Senior brother Xianyuan that he'll definitely be punctual for our appointment, Lu Mo said. That disciple nodded and hurriedly carried out the orders. You're indeed on close terms with Senior brother Xianyuan. I've never seen Senior brother Xianyuan interact with other disciples in the valley, but he extended an invitation to you today." Li Jingwen grinned. Lu Mo had an indifferent expression on his face, but a trace of a smile emerged in his eyes. Given Xianyuan Lai's skills, he was no longer on the same level as ordinary disciples and would naturally not bother with the disciples in the valley. Senior brother Xianyuan is prideful. But he has the capital to be so, unlike someone who thinks that he can do whatever he wants in Falling Sky Valley just because he became the Valley Master's disciples. Li Jingwen pointed out. Lu Mo nodded slightly. The two of them did not say anything and headed straight to Admirable Sky Peak. On Admirable Sky Peak, Yi Qingtang made a rare trip to the disciples' cultivation field but was stopped by a lady before she walked far. "I've heard that my new little junior brother is very pretty and charming. After meeting him today, the rumors are indeed true." Yi Ningxi's lips curled up as she sized up Yi Qingtang without concealing. Yin Qingluo, who came with Yi Ningxi, could not help but have a headache when she saw Yi Ningxi's behavior. "Junior brother Yi, this is Yi Ningxi, senior sister Yi. She is not in the valley usually, which is why you only got to meet her today." Yin Qingluo explained hurriedly, fearful that the young Yi Qingtang would be frightened by Yi Ningxi. Yin Qingluo originally did not like Yi Qingtang's method of becoming apprentice to their master, but after Yi Qingtang beat Li Jingwen up, her opinion of this new junior brother changed evidently. As Yi Qingtang looked at Yi Ningxi, who had an enchanting smile on her face, a trace of reminiscence emerged in her eyes. This senior sister Yi Ningxi was someone she was very familiar with in her previous life. She might look flippant, but once she attacked, it was deadly vicious. "Greetings, senior sister Yi," Yi Qingtang said calmly. Yi Ningxi chuckled as she naturally placed her fair hands on Yi Qingtang's shoulder. "Your face is really endearing. With a look, it's actually even more beautiful than a lattice face." Yi Qingtang was speechless. "Senior sister Yi?" Yin Qingluo's headache worsened, and she immediately stepped forward to pull Yi Ningxi's dishonest hand away. "Little Qingqing, you did wrong. When I asked you how junior brother Yi looked like the other time, you hid it from me. Could it be that you took a fancy on him and that you're scared that I would snatch him away?" Yi Ningxi raised her brow. Yin Qingluo was just a step away from covering Yi Ningxi's mouth with her hand. Chapter 764 Interdisciples Learning 2. Reminiscence filled Yi Qingtang's eyes as she watched Yi Ningxi and Yin Qingluo. In her previous life, her senior brothers and sisters had always joked around like that. Everyone was so happy. Until perfected Xianxin was forced to hand over the Valley Master position, and Falling Sky Valley encountered a calamity. Yi Qingtang clearly remembered that in that bloody battle, the familiar figures around her fell one by one. The cheerful talk and laughter turned into cries of despair which lingered in her memories. In this life, she would definitely not let tragedy repeat itself. Regardless of her master or senior brothers and sisters, she would never let anyone injure them. Yi Ningxi and Yin Qingluo joked for a while before realizing that Yi Qingtang had not said anything from the start. "Senior sister Yi, you frightened junior brother Yi." Yin Qingluo blamed. Yi Ningxi put on an innocent look. Right at that moment, a nervous-looking Admirable Sky Peak disciple rushed over hurriedly. "Senior sister Yi, senior sister Yin, senior brother Yi. Water-cut peaks Lu Mo and Blue Cloud peaks Li Jingwen are here." With that, there was a subtle change in the expressions of Yi Ningxi and Yin Qingluo, who were initially still playing around. "Is Li Jingwen done? Why did he bring Lu Mo here today?" Yin Qingluo's expression darkened immediately. Previously, Li Jingwen came to Admirable Sky Peak to flaunt his impressive might. He was just punished by Yi Qingtang some time ago, and she thought that he would be more obedient. Who would have thought? He just regained consciousness but was back here again. If it was only Li Jingwen, Yin Qingluo would naturally not be scared of anything since he had already suffered defeat at Yi Qingtang's hands. But Lu Mo, the smile on Yi Ningxi's face faded away unconsciously, and her bewitching eyes narrowed. "Li Jingwen brought Lu Mo to Admirable Sky Peak today. I'm afraid he is here with ill intentions." Afterward, Yi Ningxi's gaze landed on Yi Qingtang immediately. "Junior brother Yi, if you've nothing on, go back to your room first." Yi Ningxi was not a fool. Li Jingwen was a sinister and ruthless person who bore grudges. He harbored hatred towards Yi Qingtang when he was defeated by her that day, and he probably came here with Lu Mo today to seek revenge. Lu Mo's skills were comparable with those of their eldest senior brother, Gui Han. Although Yi Qingtang triumphed over Li Jingwen completely, she might not be Lu Mo's opponent. In the entire Falling Sky Valley, there were not more than 3 disciples who could win against Lu Mo. If Yi Qingtang and Lu Mo sparred, Yi Qingtang would probably suffer a huge loss. However, before Yi Ningxi could signal Yi Qingtang to leave, Li Jingwen and Lu Mo walked straight to them. Li Jingwen caught sight of Yi Qingtang at a glance, and an evil look flashed across his eyes. Lu Mo walked over without any emotions, and he passed a nonchalant glance at Yi Qingtang and the rest. His eyes did not stop on Yi Qingtang for long, and he instead looked at Yi Ningxi's graceful body frivolously for a long time. Yi Qingtang's expression darkened when she saw Lu Mo. The moment she saw Lu Mo sizing up Yi Ningxi openly, coldness flashed across her eyes. This Lu Mo was exactly the same as he was in her previous life. Chapter 765 Interdisciples Learning 3. Lu Mo's skills were considered to tower above those of other disciples in Falling Sky Valley, and he had a detached and proud nature. But in reality, Lu Mo was a beast in human skin. While he had the appearance of a decent human, he was a complete lecher in reality. He made use of his title as Watercut Peak's top disciple to disrespect many female disciples in Falling Sky Valley, and they could only swallow their anger silently given Lu Mo's position and skills. In her previous life, Lu Mo once tried to make a move on Yi Qingtang, but her senior brothers and sisters happened to see it and joined forces against Lu Mo. Although Yi Qingtang was able to escape, her senior brothers and sisters were severely injured because of it. Yi Qingtang looked at Lu Mo coldly. She had not made time to find him, but he sent himself here instead. Yi Chen, we meet again. Li Jingwen looked straight at Yi Qingtang maliciously as he exploited Lu Mo's might to intimidate others. Yi Qingtang swept a cold glance at Li Jingwen's twisted face without any emotions on her face. Yi Chen, don't you like interdisciple learning? Senior brother Lu happened to be free today. How about you all learn from each other? Li Jingwen laughed. Yin Qingluo and Yi Ningxi frowned immediately. A group of Admirable Sky Peak disciples came over asking for answers, and caution emerged in their eyes when they saw Li Jingwen and Lu Mo, who came to cause trouble. Li Jingwen, when did my junior brother Yi say that he wanted to have an interdisciple learning session with senior brother Lu? Yi Ningxi snickered coldly. Li Jingwen said with a smile, Junior sister Yi, why are you so agitated? In Falling Sky Valley, it's a normal thing for disciples to learn from each other. Senior brother Lu rarely has time today and is willing to give you pointers. This is junior brother Yes' blessing. In the entire Falling Sky Valley, how many disciples can match senior brother Liu's skills? If junior brother Yi can gain a few pointers from senior brother Lu, it would naturally be a blessing he cultivated from his previous life. Li Jingwen spoke frankly and freely, implying that Yi Qingtang stood a huge bargain from learning with Lu Mo. Lu Mo looked scornfully at Yi Qingtang, who was being blocked behind by Yin Qingluo and Yi Ningxi. Junior brother Yi, we are just having an interdisciple learning session. Could it be that you don't even have the guts to do so? If you don't have the guts, I will not force you either. However, since I've come to Admirable Sky Peak, I cannot return empty-handed. If you don't agree to this match, you can invite your eldest senior brother, Gui Han, out. Lu Mo replied. In the entire Admirable Sky Peak, the only disciple he could bother with was Gui Han. Moreover, after Perfected Xianxin became the Valley Master, Perfected Xianxin had the intention of nurturing Gui Han as the next Peak Master of Admirable Sky Peak. If Lu Mo defeated Gui Han, all the disciples in Admirable Sky Peak would be trampled by him unquestionably. Lu Mo's purpose for coming today was to beat Yi Qingtang up and assert his dominance. Yin Qingluo and Yi Ningxi had a serious expression as they were clearly of Lu Mo's intention. In terms of skills, Lu Mo was slightly stronger than Gui Han. However, Gui Han obeyed his master's orders strictly, and even if he came today, he would probably not use all his force in consideration of the big picture. Yet, when facing Lu Mo, Gu Ihan only had the option of suffering a tragic defeat as long as he restrained his strength. Chapter 766 Shameless. Too shameless. 1. As everyone hesitated, Yi Qingtang suddenly walked forward. Yin Qingluo and Yi Ningxi were shocked. Junior brother Yi. Yi Qingtang looked at the arrogant Lu Mo and said, "Since senior brother Lu wishes to grant me some teachings, I will not refuse." All the admirable Sky Peak disciples were stunned to hear Yi Qingtang's words. Is Yi Qingtang crazy? She really dared to accept the challenge? Lu Mo was not Li Jingwen, and their skills were simply not on the same level. Even if Yi Qingtang won against Li Jingwen, she was definitely not Lu Mo's opponent. The admirable Sky Peak disciples had begun accepting Yi Qingtang then. They viewed her as their fellow disciple, and thus they could not help but be a little anxious when they saw the situation. Junior brother Yi, do not act on impulse, Yin Qingluo hurriedly said. Li Jingwen looked at Yin Qingluo with a raised brow. Junior sister Yin, if you're so worried of junior brother Yi, why don't you accept the challenge on his behalf? Yin Qingluo glared at him coldly. If she really had the ability, the first person she would beat up would be this Li Jingwen, who committed outrages. Impatience flashed across Lu Mo's eyes, and he said, Junior sister Yin, why are you so worried? Rest assured, I know that junior brother Yi just entered the valley not long ago. Since I will have an interdisciple learning session with him, I'll naturally not bully him. Then, Lu Mo suddenly removed the sword that was hung on his waist and tossed it to Li Jingwen beside him. I'll give him some advantages in this spar. I will not use any weapons. Lu Mo declared with a generous expression. Yin Qingluo's brows were furrowed slightly. When Yi Qingtang saw Lu Mo's attitude, a smile suddenly passed her eyes. Senior brother Lu, you're Watercut Peak's top disciple while I'm just a new disciple who entered the valley only a few days ago. I'm afraid it's not appropriate if you only give me the weapon advantage? The disciples who were initially worried of Yi Qingtang were stunned when they heard her. Similarly, Lu Mo never thought that Yi Qingtang would say that. On second thought, he smiled and replied, Since that's the case, how about this? I'll only use one hand. Li Jingwen wanted to say something, but Lu Mo hinted at him with his eyes to remain silent. Yi Qingtang flashed a smile but shook her head again. Since you have the intention to give me an advantage, how about not using both hands? Everyone present was stupefied immediately. Yichen, you're really shameless. Senior brother Lu has already agreed to not use any weapons and even one hand, but you're actually demanding for more? Do you want senior brother Lu to just stand there for you to hit? Li Jingwen laughed angrily. He had seen a shameless person before, but not such a shameless one. Chapter 767 Shameless. Too shameless. 2. No one would have expected Yi Qingtang to make such an absurd request. Forbidding the usage of both hands in the spar basically meant that Lu Mo only could use his legs. Yi Qingtang could still use her hands and a sword. Didn't it mean that Lu Mo could only use his legs to run? Even Yin Qingluo and Yi Ningxi had a look of disbelief on their faces. This junior brother Yi, is he? Yin Qingluo frowned slightly as she looked at Yi Qingtang with a complicated expression. Apart from Yan Shu, no one else was present when Yi Qingtang fought Li Jingwen that day. Thus, everyone was unaware of the details. However, Yin Qingluo's opinion of Yi Qingtang had changed because of this incident, and she thought that this little junior brother had a backbone. Yet, unexpectedly, Yi Qingtang acted this way today. Yi Ningxi cleared her throat awkwardly and said, Perhaps junior brother Yi is just joking around. Lu Mo did not think that Yi Qingtang would actually make such a ridiculous request either and was dumbfounded. He spoke in a deep voice right after. Junior brother Yi, why don't you just say that I should remain standing at a spot for you to hit? Yichen, don't be so shameless. Senior brother Lu has already agreed to not use one hand, but you still don't know how to be content. Li Jingwen berated from aside. Yi Qingtang looked at Lu Mo indifferently and said, Senior brother Lu, are you unwilling? Lu Mo scoffed. Who would agree to such an absurd request for a spar between Falling Sky Valley's disciples? Oh! Yi Qingtang swept Lu Mo a look. What if someone agrees? They'll want to see who has the guts to. If there's really such a person, Lu Mo, will really admire that person. Lu Mo laughed. Yi Qingtang smiled faintly. Yi Chen actually gained senior brother Liu's admiration. Lu Mo and everyone else were stupefied when they heard what Yi Qingtang said. Yi Chen, don't flatter yourself. Who admires you? Li Jingwen said coldly. Yi Qingtang shot a look at Li Jingwen. Didn't you say it yourself just now, senior brother Lu? Lu Mo said it? What did Lu Mo say? Confusion was etched on Li Jingwen's face. Yi Qingtang looked at Lu Mo. Senior brother Lu said that if anyone does not use any weapons or their hands in the spar, he will admire his guts. What has this got to do with you? Lu Mo frowned. Yi Qingtang smiled. In my friendly spar with you today, I'll not use any weapons or my hands. What? Everyone present was stupefied. What is senior brother Yi saying? He's actually not using his hands to spar with Lu Mo? Am I deaf or is senior brother Yi crazy? What a joke. Given Lu Mo's skills, senior brother Yi is clearly courting death. Admirable Sky Peak disciples went berserk. They originally thought that Yi Qingtang made this absurd request to dodge the spar, yet unexpectedly. The development of events was so unpredictable. What does junior brother Yi want to do? Yin Qingluo was completely dumbfounded. While Yi Ningxi was intelligent, she could not understand what Yi Qingtang was thinking this time. In sparring a disciple with Lu Mo's skills, even Xianyuan Lai is not so arrogant to spar without using both hands. Junior brother Yi? Could he be crazy? Li Jingwen really burst out laughing. Yi Chen really did not fear death. Who exactly gave her the courage to make such big talk in front of Lu Mo? What exactly happened just now? Why did Lu Mo? The Admirable Sky Peak disciples were utterly dumbfounded. Their eyes were clearly locked on the battle earlier on, but why was Lu Mo, who had an imposing stance, flung out and coughing blood in just the blink of an eye? Click here joy. Chapter 769 Shameless. Too shameless, for Yin Qingluo and Yi Ningxi were stupefied. Both of them were the only few out of all the disciples present who could barely see Lu Mo's attack. However, they saw Lu Mo attacking Yi Qingtang, but whatever that happened later on, the two of them did not even see anything. Li Jingwen was utterly dumbfounded. The smile that he had a while ago was, however, completely frozen on his face at this moment. Disbelief filled his eyes as he looked at Lu Mo, who collapsed on the ground not far away. Senior brother Lu? Li Jingwen spoke hesitantly as he looked at Lu Mo. However, Lu Mo's face was filled with pain. It was as though his body suffered an extremely huge blow and all his bones were forcibly crushed by someone. Not mentioning standing up, he did not even have the energy to speak. Stunned, everyone's eyes returned back to Yi Qingtang. It was then that everyone realized Yi Qingtang had been standing at the same spot with her hands behind, and even her left foot did not move at all. Only her right foot had moved a few inches from before. Thank you for your guidance, senior brother Lu, Yi Qingtang said flatly with cupped fists. However, the entire Admirable Sky Peak was dead silent. Lu Mo was defeated? He was actually defeated in Yi Chen's hands? What was more unbelievable was that Yi Qingtang really did not use any weapons or her hands as she said before. Even more so, she did not even use her left leg. It was just the lifting of a leg at that moment, but it caused Lu Mo to look half alive? Li Jingwen's face stiffened. He looked at Lu Mo, who was on the ground, and then at Yi Qingtang, who was standing there perfectly fine. Coldness spread from the sole of his feet. What kind of monster was Yi Chen? He was at most 15 or 16 years old. How could he possess the skills to defeat Lu Mo? Li Jingwen thought that he could definitely pay back the humiliation that Yi Qingtang made him suffer a few days ago and did not think that the outcome would be like that. Lu Mo was already defeated, and Li Jingwen was unwilling to remain in Admirable Sky Peak any longer. He immediately supported the pale Lu Mo up and left Admirable Sky Peak in a flurry. When the two of them left, the Admirable Sky Peak disciples still wore shocked expressions as they stared at the good-looking youth unbelievably. First, Li Jingwen. Miss Lu, how deep were Yi Qingtang's skills? Everyone just realized how ridiculous their conjecture of Yi Qingtang was. How did Yi Qingtang say that because she was afraid of losing too badly? She had that confidence because she clearly overpowered Lu Mo. In just a moment, the shock and blank expressions that the disciples were looking at Yi Qingtang with gradually turned into ones of admiration. Chapter 770 Full Moon Peak 1. They really looked down on Yi Qingtang previously and thought that she was apprenticed to their master by artifice. Yet, unexpectedly, this fellow actually had such frightening skills himself. Even Yi Ningxi, who had extensive knowledge, was truly convinced this time. After dealing with Lu Mo, Yi Qingtang did not think much of it and went to do her things. Gu Yihan, who rushed over a moment later, learned of Yi Qingtang's actions from the others and was shocked. Yi Qingtang thrashed the top disciples of Blue Cloud Peak and Water Cut Peak successively, which truly allowed the Admirable Sky Peak disciples who had been holding themselves back for a long time to feel avenged. In just half a day, all the Admirable Sky Peak disciples already knew about Yi Qingtang's actions. Many disciples who had been repressed by these two peaks were overcome with emotions after knowing about the incident. When dusk fell, a handsome man in green clothes stood under the moonlight on Falling Sky Valley's full moon peak. The moonlight scattered on his slender body, and it was as though his body was plated in a layer of pale light. The youth was standing with his hands behind him. A pot of top-grade wine was placed on the stone table in front of him. A full moon peak disciple rushed to that man's side hurriedly. Senior brother Xian Yuan. The man standing under the moonlight was Falling Sky Valley's #1 talent, Xianyuan Lai. Xianyuan Lai was currently waiting for Lu Mo to come over for a drink. Is junior brother Lu here? Xianyuan Lai asked that disciple who rushed over. That disciple replied. Senior brother Xianyuan, I'm afraid senior brother Lu is unable to come today. Xianyuan Lai frowned slightly. Why? Senior brother Lu was severely injured by Yi Chen of Admirable Sky Peak and is currently recuperating in Water Cut Peak. I heard from the physician that he may not recover fully even after half a month of rest, the disciple said. What? Surprise flashed across Xianyuan Lai's face. Then, the disciple told Xianyuan Lai the news he heard from Water Cut Peak in full detail. Xianyuan Lai's brows were slightly furrowed. Yi Chen? Is he the disciple whom perfected Xianchen just accepted? Yes. Xianyuan Lai thought for a moment and said, I know already. You may retreat. After that disciple retreated, Xianyuan Lai suddenly turned around and headed to Full Moon Peak's main hall. Full Moon Peak's Peak Master was seated at the main seat of the hall as he read through the files before him. Grandfather. Xianyuan Lai walked into the main hall with great strides and greeted the Full Moon Peak's Peak Master. Full Moon Peak's Peak Master was already over 50 years old, but there were not too many traces of his age on his face. His bright eyes were threateningly sharp. In the entire Falling Sky Valley, Full Moon Peak's Peak Master was at the Yin-Yang perfected Lord State already, and his skills were only second to the old Valley Master. Didn't you ask Lu Mo out for a drink today? Why you back now already? Full Moon Peak's Peak Master asked his grandson whom he took pride in. Xianyuan Lai took a step forward and immediately told the Full Moon Peak Master about Lu Mo. The Full Moon Peak Master frowned slightly upon hearing it. Perfected Zuanshan's newly accepted disciple really has this ability? He defeated Lu Mo with just one move? Yes. Xianyuan Lai nodded. Full Moon Peak Master narrowed his eyes slightly. Given your skills, how would it be if you fought Lu Mo? I naturally have the confidence to defeat him within a move, Xianyuan Lai said confidently. Chapter 771 Full Moon Peak 2. In Falling Sky Valley, although Lu Mo's skills are second to you, the gap between you two is extremely wide. Full Moon Peak Master spoke slowly, but his confidence in his grandson was evident in his tone. I've never nurtured you as an ordinary disciple. Full Moon Peak Master told Xianyuan Lai. I understand, replied Xianyuan Lai. His usual cultivation was separated from other disciples, and his cultivation method was personally chosen by his grandfather. Even those disciples under his grandfather were completely unaware of his cultivation method. The full moon peak master nodded slightly and continued. Are you bothered by that Yi Qin? Xin Yuanlai said, I don't think much of that Yi Qin. It's just that he is perfected Zuanshan's disciple. When the old Valley Master wanted to pass the acting Valley Master position to perfected Xianxin, all the peaks in Falling Sky Valley were very dissatisfied. In terms of skills and qualifications, which of them are you not better than perfected Xianxin? You're clearly more suitable to be Falling Sky Valley's Valley Master than him. All of perfected Zuanshan's disciples are mediocre, and I haven't even paid attention to Gui Han. Yi Chen is of dubious background and could defeat Luo Mo despite his young age. When perfected Xianxin accepted him back then, people already found it strange, and it said that Yi Chen is only a yellow spirit root. But currently, the skills that Yi Chen displayed does not seem to be from those of an ordinary yellow spirit root. I think that there may be some special relationship between Yi Chen and perfected Xianxin. Moreover, just a few days after Yi Chen entered the valley, he sparred with Blue Cloud Peak's Li Jingwen and Water Cut Peak's Luo Mo and even defeated them. I think that it's very possible that he did this because perfected Xianxin hinted to him in secret and wanted to make use of this to beat us 3 peaks, Xin Yuanlai said coldly. Blue Cloud Peak and Water Cut Peak depended on Full Moon Peak and were at odds with perfected Xianxin. Previously, the only disciple that Admirable Sky Peak could show off was Gui Han. Moreover, Gui Han could contend against Luo Mo at most, but it was insufficient for him to achieve victory. Yi Qingtang just entered the valley, but she picked up troubles with the other 2 peaks successively, which was clearly directed against them. Oh! Full Moon Peak Master raised a brow. What plans do you have then? Xin Yuanlai scoffed coldly. Perfected Xianxin snatched your Valley Master position back then. Since Yi Chen is his disciple, there's no need for me to be polite with him. Did Yi Qingtang wishfully think that she could dominate over the other disciples in Falling Sky Valley? It was simply delusional. The Full Moon Peak Master nodded. He did not pay much attention to Yi Qingtang. However, since his own grandson found the other party as an eyesore, it was not bad to deal with him now. Forget it. Just make whatever arrangements you're thinking of. There's no need to tell me. You just need to remember that you're different from all the Falling Sky Valley's disciples. Your future is to be the Valley Master of Falling Sky Valley. The Full Moon Peak Master hinted. He did not raise his grandson so painstakingly to let him become an ordinary disciple. He would take back perfected Zuanshan's Valley Master position sooner or later, and he would definitely pass this position down to Xin Yuanlai in the future. Xin Yuanlai's eyes flickered, and he said immediately, I understand. Don't worry, grandfather. Chapter 772 Peerless School 1. After the incidents with Li Jingwen and Luo Mo, Yi Qingtang's reputation soared among the Admirable Sky Peak disciples. Everyone called Senior Brother Yi resoundingly. Because of Yi Qingtang's actions, many Admirable Sky Peak disciples were heavily influenced. Although they closely obeyed perfected Zuanshan's orders to not stir up troubles, they no longer swallowed their anger in silence like before. They struck when they had to. The change in the Admirable Sky Peak disciples fell into Yi Qingtang's eyes. A few days ago, she just received news from Master Du when she went to the Bliss Forging Workshop the other time. She had already left a message for Master Du that she was willing to collaborate with him on the Dragon Vein. Currently, Master Du had already made all the preparations and asked to meet Yi Qingtang tomorrow morning. Then, they would head to the Dragon Vein. Yi Qingtang made some preparations. However, when she walked around Falling Sky Valley in the afternoon, she faintly sensed that there was something wrong with the atmosphere in Falling Sky Valley. Junior brother Yi. Yin Qingluo saw Yi Qingtang from afar and walked over immediately. Senior sister Yin, did anything happen in the valley? Yi Qingtang questioned. Yin Qingluo took a look at Yi Qingtang and sighed subsequently. The Peerless School people are here. Peerless School. Yi Qingtang's eyes darkened. The Peerless School was a top force in Nine Knights Dynasty, and even super forces like Tiangang Sect and Falling Sky Valley were beneath the Peerless School. The Peerless School possessed the most powerful figures in Nine Knights Dynasty, and their might was not what Falling Sky Valley could compare to. Junior brother Yi, you just entered the valley and may not be clear about the Peerless School. The Peerless School is in charge of various forces in Nine Knights Dynasty, and even our Falling Sky Valley has to offer tributes to them regularly. There was helplessness in Een Kingluo's tone. The power and influence of the Peerless School were not what ordinary people could match up with. The tributes they wanted was an enormous sum, and it was extremely difficult for even a force like Falling Sky Valley to pool sufficient tributes. The old Valley Master of Falling Sky Valley refused to offer tributes to the Peerless School because the tributes they wanted were too enormous. However, after that, the old Valley Master was severely injured in an accident. Although this seemed to be unrelated to the Peerless School, anyone with discerning eyes was clearly aware that the Peerless School people were the only ones in Nine Knights Dynasty who could injure the old Valley Master. The Peerless School asked for something big this time. I'm afraid Master will be troubled again. Een Qingluo sighed. Chapter 773 Peerless School 2. Senior Brother? Who are those two people? Warden Xiong and the other wardens following beside them, and why do they look like they are pleasing them? A disciple who just entered the valley not long ago looked in confusion at the two young men who were being escorted by a group of people. Lower your voice. His senior brother hurriedly warned him and said softly, "Those two people are from the Peerless School." Peerless School? The rumored Peerless School where all the top powerful figures are gathered in? That disciple's face was filled with astonishment. Since you know it, you must be more careful. Not mentioning wardens, even our Falling Sky Valley elders have to show utmost deference to the Peerless School disciples. The disciple shuddered with fear. He originally thought that he had entered a super force after he entered Falling Sky Valley, but unexpectedly, Falling Sky Valley had to be this cautious before the Peerless School. As the two of them were discussing softly, a Peerless School disciple suddenly frowned. His sharp gaze passed through the crowd and swept towards the two disciples who were mumbling softly. "Who is commenting on my Peerless School?" A Peerless School disciple shouted coldly. The Falling Sky Valley wardens broke out in cold sweat immediately. The people around those two Falling Sky Valley disciples dispersed like birds instantly, leaving those two horrified disciples at the same spot. This is how Falling Sky Valley teaches its disciples? The older-looking Peerless School disciple looked coldly at the wardens beside him. Xiong Feng and the rest were dripping with cold sweat. They looked at the two dumbstruck Falling Sky Valley disciples and berated immediately. "How insolent! Who gave you the nerves to comment on the Peerless School? Get lost and go receive your punishments." The two disciples trembled and retreated silently. However, a Peerless School disciple suddenly spoke. The warden's face stiffened, unclear of the other party's intention. Those two disciples were pale from the shock, and they remained rooted to the ground, not daring to move. The Peerless School disciple looked at those two disciples. "Anyone who dares to casually comment about my Peerless School will naturally have to be punished." Yes. This is a must. We will let them go to the disciplinary hall to be punished. Xiong Feng agreed with them. "Don't trouble." The Peerless School disciple nodded, and a faint murderous air emerged in his eyes. In the next second, he suddenly raised his hand, and a golden ray of light immediately shot out from his palm. In just an instant, that golden light was shot towards one of the two Falling Sky Valley disciples and pierced through the person's glabella once the golden light touched him. A streak of blood spurted out from that disciple's glabella. Without a wail, that disciple collapsed on the ground with a thud, and the horror on his face was still frozen even when he died. Seeing his own senior brother dying in front of him, that disciple who just entered the valley fell to the ground in shock. Until this moment he still had not realized what wrong had they done exactly and why his life was taken. A faint smell of blood spread in the air at that moment. The Falling Sky Valley disciples watched that instant death in disbelief. They heard the discussion of those two disciples as well. However, those two disciples only said a few things secretly, and there was no criticism about the Peerless School at all. But this was enough for them to lose their lives. Chapter 774 Peerless School 3. The Falling Sky Valley wardens never thought that the Peerless School disciples would be so ruthless and were stunned. "Mercy, I'm wrong. I will not dare to do it again. Please spare my life." Frightened out of his wits, the disciple knelt on the ground and kowtowed repeatedly as he begged for mercy. The other Falling Sky Valley disciples were extremely despondent when they witnessed the sight. However, the Peerless School disciple did not take pity on the Falling Sky Valley disciple. He lifted his hands slightly, and a ray of golden light was shot out from his palm once again, killing that imploring disciple instantly. From the start to the end, the Falling Sky Valley wardens from aside could not utter any pleas for leniency. The Falling Sky Valley disciples were dead silent, and they trembled at the sight of the two dead bodies on the ground. At that instant, Perfected Xianxun and a few other elders walked over together. Xianyuan Lai followed behind the Full Moon Peak's Peak Master. When the Falling Sky Valley disciples saw them, hope rose in their hearts. "We were unaware of your arrival. Excuse us for not going out to meet you earlier," Perfected Xianxun greeted. The two Peerless School disciples swept a look over perfunctorily. Xianyuan Lai, who was standing behind the Full Moon Peak Master, glanced across the surrounding and felt that the atmosphere was strange. It was then he noticed the corpses of two Falling Sky Valley disciples not far away. This two disciples offended the Peerless School envoys just now and was punished by the envoys. A warden explained. Perfected Zuanshan's eyes dimmed upon hearing it. Xianyuan Lai frowned slightly, and this reaction caused a trace of hope to arise in the Falling Sky Valley disciples' hearts. Xianyuan Lai was the #1 talent of Falling Sky Valley, and he would probably be infuriated when the Peerless School disciples killed Falling Sky Valley disciples so casually on Falling Sky Valley's turf. However, Xianyuan Lai suddenly turned around and bowed to those two Peerless School disciples with cupped fists. "We have troubled you. It truly is our negligence for Falling Sky Valley to have such insolent disciples. Please don't take offense, envoys." Xianyuan Lai's words stunned many disciples. Since it's negligence, there better not be such an incident ever again, lest our hands are dirted, a Peerless School disciple said. "Rest assured, envoys. There will never be such a case again in the future." Xianyuan Lai agreed. The Peerless School disciples nodded slightly before looking straight at Falling Sky Valley's Perfected Xianxun. "Perfected Xianxun, are Falling Sky Valley's tribute for this year prepared?" Perfected Xianxun repressed his emotions and replied. "They have been prepared long ago." Then he exchanged a look with an elder beside him, who directly handed the list of tributes to the Peerless School disciples. The Peerless School demanded a huge quantity of tributes. Apart from large amounts of superior-grade spirit stones, they even required hundreds of Dharma treasures. It could be said that at least half of the entire Falling Sky Valley's earnings landed in the pockets of the Peerless School. The Peerless School disciples received the list of tributes, and sneers hung on their lips after taking a glance. "The quantity doesn't seem to be right, doesn't it?" Perfected Xianxun was slightly dumbfounded. Everything on the list is prepared according to the rules that the Peerless School had set in the previous years. Chapter 775 Giving You Face 1. This year is different from the previous years. The Peerless School disciple smiled and lifted his chin. "Have you forgotten, Perfected Xianxun? Your old Valley Master did not give us any tributes last year. Since 1 year of tributes is missing, you all naturally have to make up for it this year," the Peerless School disciple said and threw that list on a Falling Sky Valley elder's face. "Perfected Xianxun, you're still using this list to fool us. What a joke." Perfected Zuanshan's expression darkened, and even the Peak Masters behind him never thought that the Peerless School would have such high demands. The tributes that they squeezed out to offer to the Peerless School every year were already their limit. It was so that they even had to dock the welfare of their own valley's disciples in order to fill the vacancy. Yet, the Peerless School still wanted them to double the number of tributes now. "I'm afraid there are some difficulties. We have always prepared according to the original rules," an elder said hesitantly. The Peerless School snickered coldly. "The tributes that we set for Falling Sky Valley back then were already very little, but your old Valley Master did not know how to be grateful. Could it be that you all don't know what gratitude is?" There was a hint of a threat in the Peerless School disciples' words. The Falling Sky Valley elders and Peak Masters had ugly expressions. Perfected Xianxun frowned slightly. After hesitating for a moment, he finally said, "It is our negligence. Please rest in the valley for a while, and voice. We will prepare them now." "Sure. We will just take a spin in the valley." Then, the peerless school disciple lifted his hand and pointed at Shen Yuanlai. "Let him bring us around." Delight arose in Shen Yuanlai upon being appointed by the peerless school disciple. Perfected Xianshen, the elders, and the peak masters could only return to the hall to discuss how to gather the additional tributes. The scene fell into the eyes of the falling Sky Valley disciples, who felt sorrowful. The peerless school was so mighty that even their valley master and peak masters could only concede to them. "This way, please." Shen Yuanlai was all smiles, completely unlike his usual arrogance. Yi Qingtang and Yin Qingluo were walking to Falling Sky Valley Square and suddenly saw Shen Yuanlai and two young men walking towards them. Furthermore, Shen Yuanlai had a polite and solicitous expression on his face. "Who are those two people?" Yi Qingtang said. There were not many who could make the conceited Shen Yuanlai be so polite. Yin Qingluo looked over and was alarmed. She immediately spoke with a hushed voice. "Junior brother Yi, those two are envoys from the peerless school." However, the moment Yin Qingluo spoke, the emotionless peerless school disciples beside Shen Yuanlai suddenly looked at them. Yin Qingluo spoke extremely softly to Yi Qingtang earlier on, but the skills of these two peerless school disciples were pretty good, and that slight sound traveled into their ears word for word. Their expressions darkened immediately. Shen Yuanlai sensed the gaze of the two people and immediately followed their gaze, which caused Shen Yuanlai to snicker in his heart. He had not taken time to find trouble for Yi Qingtang, but she sent herself knocking on the door instead today. Then, Shen Yuanlai immediately put on a straight face and reproached coldly. "How brazen! Who allowed you two to criticize the peerless school?" Chapter 776, Giving You Face 2. Then Shen Yuanlai immediately put on a straight face and reproached coldly. "How brazen! Who allowed you two to criticize the peerless school?" Shen Yuanlai shouted, drawing the attention of Yi Qingtang and Yin Qingluo. It was then that Yin Qingluo realized those two peerless school disciples were looking at her and Yi Qingtang coldly. An inauspicious premonition struck Yin Qingluo's mind suddenly. Yi Qingtang looked at Shen Yuanlai coldly before glancing at the two peerless school disciples. One of the peerless school disciples lifted his chin slightly and pointed at Yin Qingluo and Yi Qingtang. "Come here." Yin Qingluo had no choice but to brace herself and head over with Yi Qingtang. That peerless school disciple subsequently glanced at Yi Qingtang and Yin Qingluo. His eyes landed on Yi Qingtang and he said, "You kneel down." Shen Yuanlai obviously laughed in his heart when he saw the peerless school disciples' reaction. However, those Falling Sky Valley disciples who had not dispersed from the square felt a shudder when they saw the sight. Those two Falling Sky Valley disciples merely whispered a few sentences and were mercilessly killed by the peerless school people. But Yi Qingtang was noticed to be making comments about the peerless school by the peerless school people again. Most likely, the disciples shook their heads secretly. Yin Qingluo was all the more nervous with worry. Only Yi Qingtang's expression was the same as before as she looked at that peerless school disciple indifferently. In the next second, Yi Qingtang suddenly lifted her leg and kicked the knees of that peerless school disciple. Sharp pain took over him in an instant. Defenseless, the peerless school disciple fell on his knees with a thud before Yi Qingtang. There was dead silence in the surroundings. Everyone stared at the scene before their eyes in bewilderment. Even Shen Yuanlai was utterly stunned as well. No one had expected that Yi Qingtang actually dared to attack a peerless school disciple. "What are you? How dare you order me to kneel?" Yi Qingtang said coldly as she looked at the peerless school disciple. The other peerless school disciple was taken aback. Seeing that his senior brother was treated this way by the Falling Sky Valley disciple before him, a gleam flashed across his eyes. He unsheathed his sword immediately and aimed towards Yi Qingtang. "You have a death wish." Yi Qingtang took a few steps back and dodged the sharp sword easily. Turning her palm, she locked that disciple's wrist and kicked that person's abdomen. A loud thud rang. That peerless school disciple was sent flying several meters away by Yi Qingtang's kick. After returning to his senses, the other peerless school disciple stood up immediately and lunged at Yi Qingtang. The scene completely dumbfounded everyone at the square. Yi Qingtang actually dared to hit the peerless school disciples? Was she tired of living? Yi Qingtang looked at the peerless school disciple who charged towards her indifferently. She drew out the demonic blood sword and used it to hit the sword in that disciple's hand away before sending him a flying kick, which caused him to be flung out. Everything happened too abruptly that even Yin Qingluo had not taken it in. When she saw that the two peerless school disciples were sent flying away from Yi Qingtang's kick, she finally returned to her senses and broke out in a cold sweat immediately. Is junior brother Yi insane? Those two are disciples of the peerless school. Chapter 777 Giving You Face. 3. The two peerless school disciples never thought that there would actually be such a reckless disciple in Falling Sky Valley. As they realized that they took the enemy lightly, a murderous expression filled their faces. Then, the two of them lifted their swords and charged forward. A bright and intense light enveloped the two of them as they forcefully slashed their swords down at where Yi Qingtang was standing. Two swords that were each several meters long directly slew Yi Qingtang's thin frame. However, just as the sword auras were about to land, a transparent air hood enshrouded Yi Qingtang, and the sword auras crashed directly on it. With a loud boom, clouds of dust swirled in the surroundings while Yi Qingtang was unscathed. In the next second, a cold gleam flashed across Yi Qingtang's eyes. Break! The air hood around her exploded suddenly, and a powerful burst of air charged towards the two peerless school disciples. Under the sweeping wave of air, the two peerless school disciples were directly propelled away. Everyone at the square was dumbfounded. It goes without saying how mighty the peerless school was. Even the skills of a random ordinary disciple was above those of Falling Sky Valley's #1 talent, Xianyuan Lai. However, all by herself, Yi Qingtang actually beat those two peerless school disciples up to the point where they could no longer retaliate. For a moment, everyone was muddled. You two are merely ordinary disciples of the peerless school. How dare you be so arrogant in front of me? If your peerless school's elder was here, perhaps I'd give him some face. Yi Qingtang looked at those dust-covered peerless school disciples coldly as though she was enfolded by a layer of austerity. The two peerless school disciples steadied themselves in a fluster. In the short moment when they exchanged blows earlier on, they sensed that the other party's skills were above theirs. What Yi Qingtang said, however, caused the two of them to halt their actions. It was simply impossible for Falling Sky Valley to nurture such a powerful disciple. Moreover, this person clearly knew their identities but still dared to attack them. At that instant, a trace of hesitation emerged on the faces of the two peerless school people. They originally thought that the youth before them was merely a Falling Sky Valley disciple, yet now, this person still dared to attack them. Unless this person was an idiot, how would he dare to offend the peerless school? If he was really an idiot, why would his skills be so powerful? Could this fellow be from the hidden clan? The peerless school disciple said hesitantly. In the entire mainland, the peerless school was already the top force, and its disciples were the most outstanding. However, between the various forces, there were many ancient family clans hidden from the world. Chapter 778 Putting on a Complete Show. 1. Thinking of Yi Qingtang's skills, the two disciples deliberated. The rumored hidden clan was ancient and mysterious, and even a force like the peerless school could not compare to them. If he was really from the hidden clan, the two ordinary peerless school disciples were truly not influential enough to offend him. Then, the two of them exchanged a look and put on an arrogant front. We will let you off today, fellow. The two peerless school disciples left directly after throwing that sentence. As Yi Qingtang watched them leave, an undetectable smile passed her eyes. Without thinking, she also knew what those two peerless school disciples were deliberating about. Hidden clans? God knows where those hidden clans were living in seclusion at now. However, Yi Qingtang could take advantage of this and put on an act. Xianyuan Lai stared blankly at the back view of the two peerless school disciples. He did not know about the legend of the hidden clans and thus could not understand why those two disciples would suddenly stop and leave. Yichen, how bold of you! How dare you offend the peerless school? A trace of viciousness flashed across Shen Yuanlai's eyes as he turned around and headed to the main hall of Falling Sky Valley. Junior brother Yi, what do we do now? Yin Qingluo walked to Yi Qingtang's side in a hurry. Although it was a good thing that those two peerless school disciples suddenly left, Yi Qingtang did offend them, and this was anything but reassuring. Yi Qingtang said, different situations call for different actions. In her previous life, the peerless school was extremely rude to Falling Sky Valley. It collected Falling Sky Valley's tributes and said it would protect Falling Sky Valley's safety, but when Falling Sky Valley encountered a calamity, the peerless school did not even provide any help. If not for the fact that Yi Qingtang's current skills could not win against the peerless school, she would not need to make use of the hidden clan's name to scare them and would have torn the entire peerless school down. After experiencing the peerless school's arrogance and witnessing Yi Qingtang helping them to vent their anger, the other Falling Sky Valley disciples were truly delighted. However, before the disciples could gather around Yi Qingtang and talk to her, a warden rushed over and looked at Yi Qingtang with a stern expression. Yichen, the Valley Master ordered you to head to the main hall immediately. In the main hall, Perfected Xianxun was solemn. The Peak Masters and Elders in the main hall, similarly, had dark expressions. Shen Yuanlai was standing beside the Full Moon Peak Master presently after notifying everyone of Yi Qingtang's strife with the Peerless School envoys. Offending the Peerless School was absolutely not what the Falling Sky Valley wanted to see. In just a while, Yi Qingtang and Yin Qingluo entered the main hall with the warden from before. Disciple greets master. Yi Qingtang greeted with a bow. Perfected Xianxun looked at the disciple before him with a slight frown and a heavy head. Before waiting for Perfected Xianxun to speak, the Full Moon Peak Master from his side shouted coldly. Yichen, you committed a heinous crime. Kneel down now. Yi Qingtang looked up with a flat expression. I did not do anything wrong. Why do I need to kneel? You're still reluctant to admit your mistakes? The Full Moon Peak Master narrowed his eyes and looked at Yi Qingtang coldly. You entered the valley for less than half a month, but you have already caused troubles in the valley continuously. Now, you even dare to be disrespectful to the Peerless School envoys? You did not just do something wrong. You clearly committed a crime worthy of death. Chapter 779 Putting on a Complete Show, 2. Yin Qingluo, since you were at the scene just now, tell me what happened exactly, Perfected Xianxun said in a low voice. He did not fully believe Shen Yuanlai's words. Yin Qingluo could only recount the incident in full details. Perfected Zuanshan's brows were slightly furrowed. He never thought that what Shen Yuanlai said was actually true. And what surprised him more was that Yi Qingtang actually forced those two Peerless School disciples to retreat just by herself. Yichen, what do you still have to say now? Kneel down now. The Full Moon Peak Master shouted coldly. However, Yi Qingtang remained still and looked at the Full Moon Peak Master coldly. The Peerless School is unrelated to me in any way. Why must I kneel? Since they were disrespectful first, what wrong do I have? You're still twisting logic and making fallacious arguments at this critical moment? The Peerless School is Falling Sky Valley's distinguished guest, and the entire valley must be hospitable to them, but you offended the Peerless School envoys. Are you in the right? The Full Moon Peak Master bellowed coldly. Yi Qingtang said, the Peerless School is your guest, not mine. They're just two ordinary disciples from the Peerless School. How are they distinguished guests? You. The Full Moon Peak Master's danger-filled eyes were narrowed into slits, and he immediately shouted, Men, capture Yi Chen. Then, a few disciples in the main hall walked forward and wanted to seize Yi Qingtang down. Yi Qingtang swept a glance at them and said coldly, I came to Falling Sky Valley only for my master. You all wish to capture me? What rights do you all have? Then, a strong overbearing force was emitted around Yi Qingtang, immediately draining all color from those disciples who closed in on her. The Peerless School people don't even dare to touch me, and you all want to try? Yi Qingtang looked at the Full Moon Peak Master indifferently. The full moon peak master was slightly stunned. Never would he have thought that this new, plain-looking disciple would actually have such skills. The overbearing force Yi Qingtang exerted was one that his grandson, Xinyuan Lai, could not even compare to. The peerless school did not dare to touch him? Yi Qingtang's words shocked everyone in the hall. It was then that the full moon peak master realized that under normal circumstances, although those two peerless school disciples were in the disadvantageous situation, they should not have retreated suddenly. As they looked at Yi Qingtang's aura right now, hesitation arose in the peak master's hearts. They did not know what this Yichen fellow's identity was. All they knew was that he suddenly came to the Falling Sky Valley and wanted to be apprenticed to perfected Xianxin. Moreover, the bribes that he gave to Xiong Feng before he was apprenticed were shockingly valuable. Furthermore, they heard that Master Du said that he was close friends with this fellow. Xinyuan Lai, what happened exactly then? Did the peerless school disciples really? The full moon peak master looked at Xinyuan Lai with uncertainty. Slightly dazed, Xinyuan Lai replied after hesitating for a while. When Yi Chen was exchanging blows with the two envoys, he mentioned the sea of clouds at Mount Qin. Afterward, the two envoys suddenly left. Xinyuan Lai did not understand what it meant either. But just when Xinyuan Lai mentioned the words, sea of clouds at Mount Qin, the expressions of everyone at the hall changed. You really heard Yi Chen saying sea of clouds at Mount Qin? There was a subtle change in the full moon peak master's expression. Yes. Xinyuan Lai was bewildered. He did not know what these words meant and why even his grandfather would have such an expression when he heard it. Chapter 780 Putting on a Complete Show, 3. For a moment, the entire hall was dead silent, and everyone looked at Yi Qingtang with a serious expression. Yi Qingtang was emotionless, but she took in everyone's reaction. The full moon peak master frowned deeply. He never thought that this Yichen seemed to be related to the legendary hidden clans. Even perfected Xianxin was slightly taken aback. He originally planned to reduce Yi Qingtang's punishment in secret and never thought that this fellow's identity did not seem to be so simple. Full moon peak master, how do you think this matter should be settled? Perfected Xianxin returned to his senses and asked the full moon peak master, who was ready to bite off Yi Qingtang's nose just a while ago. The full moon peak master's face stiffened. Yi Qingtang was from a dubious background and possessed shocking skills. Her family clan had an abundance of resources, and she even dared to go against the peerless school. The full moon peak master was rather convinced. If Yi Qingtang was really a member of a hidden clan, how could he lay a finger on her so easily? We will discuss this matter next time. The full moon peak master said with consideration, as he still needed to investigate Yi Qingtang's background before he could punish her. Xinyuan Lai was in a daze. He originally thought that Yi Qingtang would die without a doubt this time, yet why did his grandfather suddenly change his stance? What exactly was the sea of clouds at Mount Qin? Perfected Xianxin nodded slightly and looked up at Yi Qingtang. Yi Chen, you can return first. Yi Qingtang lifted her hands and greeted perfected Xianxin before leaving the hall with Yin Qingluo. Just after they left the hall, Yin Qingluo sighed heavily. Junior brother Yi, today was really too thrilling. When you attacked the peerless school envoys just now, I was really shocked. Yi Qingtang smiled faintly without saying anything. If she did not retaliate just now, given the peerless school disciples' arrogance, both she and Yin Qingluo would probably have been killed by them. It was just that. This measure could only deal with the emergency at the moment. Regardless of the peerless school or Falling Sky Valley, both did not take any further action as they were apprehensive about the hidden clans. But as long as they investigated this matter, they could find out the loopholes in it. Yi Qingtang only avoided trouble temporarily. When the full moon peak master finds out that she was not from the hidden clans, that would be the true disaster. She could tell that perfected Xianxin had the intention of protecting her just now. If she could not deal with the full moon peak master and the rest, then perfected Xianxin would be unable to protect her safety either. Furthermore, she did not intend to flee. If she fled, her master and her fellow disciples would go through the same tragedy in her previous life. Yi Qingtang narrowed her eyes. At this very moment, she desperately needed to raise her skills as soon as possible. She could resolve everything only by stepping into the yin-yang perfected Lord state. She still had a bottle of black heaven water in her hands that she had not used. However, it was insufficient to only rely on the black heaven water. Senior Sister Yin, I still have something on. You can return first. Yi Qingtang told Yin Qingluo. It was time for her to explore the Dragon Vein with Master Du. If she could attain advancements in the Dragon Vein, it would be the best. Yin Qingluo did not probe and left after bidding goodbye to Yi Qingtang. After returning to her room, Yi Qingtang brought the little white tiger and the silver wolf with her before leaving Falling Sky Valley and heading to the central area of the Monarch City. At this time in Ouyang family clan, the Blood Moon Elder had passed off as Ouyang Qian for half a month, and it could be said that he was in his element there. Apart from the occasional grievance of being a lady, with the identity of Ouyang family clan's favorite child, he had anything he wanted and lived blissfully. Chapter 781 Birth Mystery 1. Young Miss, Clan Master specially sought these spirit pills for you. Please consume it on time. The housekeeper placed a heap of bottles of elixirs and spirit pills before the Blood Moon Elder. I got it. The Blood Moon Elder leaned against his chair and waved his hand perfunctorily. There's one more thing. Speak, the Blood Moon Elder said impatiently. That young Sir Yi is looking for you. He is waiting in the hall right now, the housekeeper said. The Blood Moon Elder frowned slightly. What young Sir Yi? Tell him to go back to wherever he came from. I have no time to meet him. The Ouyang family clan was good in all aspects, except for the fact that there was quite a number of Ouyang Qian's admirers who came to court her favor. Just looking at the faces of those who boasted to be distinguished and talented, the Blood Moon Elder was close to vomiting. The housekeeper immediately received the orders and was about to leave. However, a streak of light shot through his head, and he stood up from the chair at lightning speed. Which young sir did you say just now? Young Sir Yi. The young Sir Yi who sent you back, the housekeeper said innocently. The Blood Moon Elder finally took the situation in and ordered hurriedly, Go. Quickly invite him here. If Holy Lady knew that he almost ordered people to chase her away, wouldn't he be screwed? The housekeeper was already accustomed to his young miss temperament and invited Yi Qingtang in without thinking much about it. Once the housekeeper left, the Blood Moon Elder hurriedly bowed to Yi Qingtang. I was unaware of Holy Lattice arrival. Please pardon me for not receiving you earlier. Yi Qingtang looked at the slightly plump Blood Moon Elder and waved a hand. All right, I'm here to ask you something. Don't bother with these. Before she headed to the Bliss Forging Workshop, she decided to ask the Blood Moon Elder about the situation over here. Noted. Why are you looking for me today, Holy Lady? The Blood Moon Elder asked with a grin. I wanted you to help me find out about the jade pendant the other time. How's your investigation? Yi Qingtang asked. Upon mentioning the jade pendant, the Blood Moon Elder's expression turned serious. Regarding the jade pendant, I've already found out some information about it. Tell me about it, Yi Qingtang said. That jade pendant is indeed related to the royal family of the Nine Knights dynasty. It's said that over 10 years ago, a lady suddenly appeared beside the former emperor of Nine Knights dynasty. That lady possessed remarkable abilities and assisted the former emperor to secure his position as the emperor in just a few months. That lady wore this jade pendant back then. However, after the former emperor's position was stabilized, that lady disappeared suddenly, and there's no more news of her from then on. Rumors have it that the lady was already pregnant when she appeared. The Blood Moon Elder explained in full detail. Yi Qingtang frowned slightly. More than 10 years ago. Calculating the time when that lady was pregnant coincided with the time of her birth. That jade pendant was subsequently found on her and brought back together with her foster father. Could that lady be her mother? Yi Qingtang's thoughts were complicated. Have you found out that lattice identity? Where is she now? Yi Qingtang asked. The Blood Moon Elder replied. The number of the royal family's secrets that the Ouyang family clan can access is already considered many, but it details very little about that lady. I only know that the lady was extremely skilled and was at the yin-yang perfected lord state. The martial skills that she knew were very odd and completely unlike what ordinary people knew. Chapter 782 Birth Mystery 2. As the Blood Moon Elder spoke, he seemed to recall something suddenly and retrieved a brocade box from a shelf aside. It contained a monotype with some words. This is an inscription that the lady engraved when she was still in the Nine Knights dynasty. No one can understand the inscription at all. After that lady left, the former emperor secretly made copies of that inscription for the Ouyang family clan's elders to help to grasp its meaning. Take a look, holy lady. Yi Qingtang looked at the item in detail. When she took a glance, her eyes were focused on the 3 words, Forgotten River Cliff, on the inscription. Forgotten River Cliff. Surprise flashed across Yi Qingtang's eyes. Holy lady, you know about the Forgotten River Cliff? I lived for 1,000 years but have never heard about this place. The Blood Moon Elder saw the words as well, but he completely had no idea what that place was. Apart from Forgotten River Cliff, there was nothing else he could understand from the inscription. Have you left this mainland before? Yi Qingtang asked. The Blood Moon Elder shook his head immediately. It would be creepy if you knew then. Yi Qingtang looked at the Blood Moon Elder and said, This Forgotten River Cliff is at another mainland. Huh. The Blood Moon Elder was completely stupefied. Yi Qingtang had been to the Forgotten River Cliff in her previous life. It was in another mainland and within the Central Dynasty's boundary. If one had not been to that mainland, it was simply impossible for them to know about the Forgotten River Cliff. Yi Qingtang frowned lightly. As she thought of how the mysterious lady had powerful skills and odd martial skills, a thought suddenly occupied her mind. Even if mighty figures from other mainlands came to this mainland, their skills would be suppressed to the yin-yang perfected Lord State. Could she be from the Central Dynasty? Yi Qingtang was in deep thought as she looked at the words, Forgotten River Cliff, on the inscription. If there was no accident, that mysterious lady was her birth mother. Yi Qingtang never thought that her mother would actually not be from this mainland. She originally thought that she would get to the bottom of the mystery of her birth after coming to the Nine Knights dynasty. Yet, unexpectedly, it was actually such a huge puzzle. Yi Qingtang took a deep breath. The confusion in her heart increased. This mainland was already isolated, and it was simply impossible for outsiders to enter. How did her mother arrive on this mainland then? Why did she come here when she was pregnant and then disappear suddenly? Why did she leave the infant her behind? Was her mother still in this mainland or had she already left? The more Yi Qingtang thought, the more she could not figure out everything. There was a possibility of resolving all these secrets only by entering the mainland where the Central Dynasty was. Then Yi Qingtang suppressed all the complicated and confusing thoughts. Now was not the time for her to think about these. You did very well for this matter. If you find out any more news about that lady in the future, notify me immediately. Rest assured, holy lady. I will definitely do my best. Holy lady, that lady and you, the Blood Moon Elder spoke a little hesitantly. She should be my mother, Yi Qingtang said with a soft sigh. The Blood Moon Elder nodded. However, Yi Qingtang did not notice that their conversation had fallen into the ears of the silver wolf from aside. Its eyes glanced at Yi Qingtang's deeply frowned eyebrows, and a strange expression flashed across his eyes. Chapter 783 Birth Mystery 3. Do you have any other things, holy lady? The Blood Moon Elder asked. No. I still have to make a trip to the Bliss Forging Workshop. Yi Qingtang replied. They'll send you there then. The Blood Moon Elder beamed. Yi Qingtang did not say anything and directly left the Ouyang family clan with the Blood Moon Elder. The Ouyang family clan's housekeeper felt very complicated when he saw the blooming spring expression on his young miss face as she left the residence with the beautiful young man. Their young miss rejected many handsome and talented young men in the monarch city but was so solicitous to this fellow. It can't be that she really took a fancy on him and wants to marry him, can it? Yi Qingtang and the Blood Moon Elder walked towards the Bliss Forging Workshop, but before long, they saw a grand troop in black moving past them. The group of fully armed soldiers was transporting a middle-aged man who was locked in a cage and parading ostentatiously about the town. The leader of the troop was the premier's son, Qin Chen. On a tall horse, Qin Chen swept his eyes across the crowd and suddenly caught sight of Ouyang Qian. In this half a month, Qin Chen went to the Ouyang family clan several times to visit Ouyang Qian, but was denied entrance. The presents he brought over were accepted by Ouyang Qian, but he did not even manage to see her. Then, Qin Chen ordered the troops to stop, and he hurried to Ouyang Qian directly. Qian. Hearing this call out of a sudden, the Blood Moon Elder, who was walking with Yi Qingtang, had goosebumps all over. He looked up and saw Qin Chen blocking his way with a face full of smiles. What? The Blood Moon Elder looked at Qin Chen with a foul expression. Qian, what happened to you these days? Why are you always unwilling to meet me? If I wasn't transporting the city lord of Fuling City today, I would not meet you by coincidence. Qin Chen was completely unbothered by the Blood Moon Elder's dissatisfaction and stayed on shamelessly. The Blood Moon Elder was about to chase him away, but he suddenly heard the words, City Lord of Fuling City. His eyes flickered, and he immediately looked at the middle-aged man in the jail wagon. City Lord of Fuling City? This person you're transporting is Chu Xiangyang? Yes, Qin Chen said with a smile. Then, the Blood Moon Elder turned around hurriedly and whispered to Yi Qingtang. Holy Lady, this Chu Xiangyan is that mysterious lattice guard. He followed that lady for quite some time. Perhaps he knows where that lady went. Yi Qingtang looked up at the resolute-looking Chu Xiangyang, who was detained in the jail wagon. Qin Chen only noticed the Blood Moon Elder just now and did not see anyone else. Now that he saw the Blood Moon Elder whispering to the young man beside him, all of a sudden, a trace of malice passed his eyes. But when he saw the face of that young man, he was slightly stupefied. A few days ago, the Dragon Tiger General whined to his father that his son was killed. He mentioned that the murderer was a half-step yin-yang perfected lord and sent that person's portrait over afterward. The person on that portrait was the beautiful young man who sent the Blood Moon Elder back to the Ouyang family clan that day. His father ordered him to search for this person and find out whether there was a chance to rope him in, but Qin Chen did not see this person after several days of searching yet, unexpectedly, he actually met the person here today. Chapter 784 Uninterested, 1. It's young Sir Yi. I didn't think that I would meet you here today, Qin Chen said generously with a smile. I didn't have a chance to talk to you the other time we met. What a coincidence today. How about having a drink with me? Qin Chen asked. The Blood Moon Elder looked at Qin Chen unbelievably. If he remembered correctly, Qin Chen was not so polite when he saw Yi Qingtang the other time. Why was he so solicitous today? Yi Qingtang looked at Qin Chen and said, What crime did Chu Xiangyang commit? This person very likely knew her mother's whereabouts. Qin Chen smiled. Chu Xiangyang is the city lord of Fuling City but abused his power to seek personal gains and was disrespectful to the emperor. These are capital offenses. Qin Chen's voice was not soft, and Chu Xiangyang, who was able to hear it from the jail wagon, scoffed. Abused my power to seek personal gains? Fuling City is remote and barren. I served the royal family in the monarch city back then and personally requested to be sent to Fuling City. If I wanted to abuse my power to seek personal gains, would I have gone to that place? Qin Chen cast a cold glance at Chu Xiangyang and said, Since you're being punished, it naturally means you have committed a crime. If you are out to condemn someone, you can always trump up a charge. In this Nine Knights dynasty, is it a crime if one doesn't obey your Qin family clan's orders? Is it a crime if one does not respect your father? Ha! Chu Xiangyang cackled sarcastically. The surrounding citizens felt indignant but did not dare to speak out. Chu Xiangyang had a good reputation in Nine Knights dynasty. He was upright, outspoken, impartial, and could be said to be a rare, good official. But so what if he was good? Currently, the young emperor was blinded by the Qin family, and the Qin family held all power. All it needed was a sentence from Qin Long if he wanted to kill Chu Xiangyang. Chu Xiangyang, the emperor has already sentenced you to death. It is useless no matter how you struggle. Qin Chen scorned, completely unbothered that Chu Xiangyang publicly exposed the Qin family of wielding all power. He looked at Yi Qingtang from the corner of his eyes discreetly. His arrogance was also to display to Yi Qingtang the Qin family's position in the Nine Knights dynasty. If he could rope in a half-step yin-yang perfected lord, it would naturally double the might of the Qin family. Young Sir Yi, there's no need to listen to a criminal's nonsense. Seeing that we met today, how about having a drink together? Qin Chen brought the topic back. As Yi Qingtang looked at Qin Chen's favorable manner, she understood what he wanted. I like people who get straight to the point. Qin Chen chuckled. Young Sir Yi is indeed a direct person. Truth to be told, my father and I have heard about your actions in the black market that day. We know that you aren't an ordinary person and that your skills are deeply admired. If you're willing to, my Qin family clan would be very pleased to befriend you. You want to befriend me? Yi Qingtang said indifferently. Yes. Qin Chen continued without concealing anything. In Nine Knights dynasty, there is no one above the Qin family other than the emperor. If young Sir Yi is willing, we can provide you everything you need in Nine Knights dynasty, and you just need to be an associate of the Qin family. I believe that you will not find an even more suitable friend than the Qin family in Nine Knights dynasty. Qin Chen looked at Yi Qingtang meaningfully. Any cultivator who wanted to advance in skills required sufficient conditions for cultivation, and the Qin family could completely prepare all of these for Yi Qingtang. Chapter 785 Uninterested. 2. It was rare for Qin Chen to show favor to someone in the Nine Knights dynasty. Upon seeing Qin Chen's behavior, the citizens in the surrounding were increasingly curious of Yi Qingtang's identity. What exactly was this pretty young man's skills for the premier's son to be so courteous to? Chu Xiangyang laughed coldly as he watched the scene before him. Birds of a feather. Chu Xiangyang shot a look at Chu Xiangyang and said coldly, You're a criminal and don't have a right to speak. Do I need to pluck out your tongue first for you to shut up? Chu Xiangyang narrowed his eyes. You all fooled the new emperor and brought disaster to the state's affairs. Why can't I say? If my lord were still here, she would never allow you treacherous officials to rebel. Your lord? That woman you're talking about is already dead somewhere. It is simply ridiculous for a pregnant lady to parade about ostentatiously and interfere with the state affairs. Only useless trash like you would still be thinking of that missing woman. Qin Chen snickered. I'll order someone to cut your tongue right now. I want to see whether your shameless lord will come and rescue you. He continued. Afterward, Qin Chen looked at a guard beside him. Those guards immediately unsheathed their swords, walked straight to the jail wagon, and raised their hands, wanting to cut Chu Xiangyang's tongue. Heaven has eyes. It will definitely not let Nine Knights dynasty become a toy in the hands of someone like you all. Even if I die, I still want to see your Qin family's downfall from the underworld. Chu Xiangyang bore the hopeless situation as he looked up at the sky with a straight face. Qin Chen ordered coldly, Cut his tongue immediately. A few guards opened Chu Xiangyang's mouth and pulled his tongue out while another guard waved a sword down. But right before the sword landed, a figure suddenly flashed by Qin Chen. It rushed to the jail wagon as fast as a bolt of lightning. In just an instant, an extremely overbearing aura exploded from the jail wagon, and the guards beside it were hurled away. In the next second, Yi Qingtang stood on the jail wagon steadily. Young Sir Yi? What are you doing? Qin Chen looked at Yi Qingtang in disbelief. His eyes were flooded with shock. Yi Qingtang looked at Qin Chen coldly. Qin Chen, they'll give you my reply right now. Making friends with your Qin family? I'm uninterested. The moment Yi Qingtang finished speaking, she stamped on the top of the jail wagon abruptly with a foot, and the indestructible jail wagon was broken into pieces the moment her foot landed. Chu Xiangyang's face was filled with surprise as he looked at Yi Qingtang, who suddenly rescued him. Yi Qingtang lifted a hand and broke the thick metal chains around Chu Xiangyang. Young sir, you are... Chu Xiangyang found it hard to believe that he actually regained freedom. Yi Qingtang replied, Since you followed your lord, don't throw her face. It is too filthy to die in the hands of this kind of person. Yi Qingtang originally did not intend to be nosy, but Chu Xiangyang once served her mother. Qin Chen was dumbfounded and did not know how he offended Yi Qingtang. Only the Blood Moon Elder from his side was well aware. Looking at the appalled Qin Chen, the Blood Moon Elder had already viewed him as a dead person. He had seen people who did not want their lives anymore, but not one who was so hurried to court death. He called Holy Lattice Mother a shameless woman, and even wanted to kill her mother's subordinate. Chapter 786 Uninterested 3. Young Sir Yi, what exactly do you mean by that? Qin Chen returned to his senses and asked with slit eyes. I want this person, Yi Qingtang said calmly. Although she was not 100% sure that that mysterious lady was her mother, it should not be wrong according to the clues she had currently. Chu Xiangyang was very likely someone who could verify this and know the whereabouts of that lady. Young Sir Yi, the Qin family respects you for your skills, but Chu Xiangyang was personally ordered to be beheaded by the emperor. If you want to save him, aren't you becoming enemy with the entire Nine Knights dynasty? Qin Chen said coldly. Is it the emperor who wants to behead me or your father Qin Long? The handwriting on the imperial decree that ordered me to the monarch city is clearly your father's. It's your Qin family who deceived the emperor and passed a false imperial decree to eradicate a dissident. Chu Xiangyang originally admitted his fate, but with a thread of survival now, he would not let it go. Qin Chen's eyes sharpened. If he really allowed Yi Qingtang to rescue Chu Xiangyang, what face would the Qin family have in Nine Knights dynasty in the future? Then, Qin Chen secretly sent a guard to relay the news to the premier's residence while he led the troops to encircle Yi Qingtang and Chu Xiangyang. Young Sir Yi, as long as you don't interfere with this matter today, I will not fuss about it. Qin Chen warned for the last time. Yet, Yi Qingtang's face remained emotionless. A trace of malice flashed across Qin Chen's eyes, and he shouted immediately. Men, capture these two people. In just a moment, the surrounding guards rushed in like a swarm of bees. Qin Chen brought hundreds of guards in this trip, and a group of black-clothed people lunged at Yi Qingtang and Chu Xiangyang. Yi Qingtang glanced at the guards who charged at her and drew out her sword. The moment it was unsheathed, a cold gleam swept across the crowd all of a sudden. There was no one who could block the cold gleam wherever it passed, and those guards who charged forward were flung away by Yi Qingtang's sword aura. In just the blink of an eye, several square meters around Yi Qingtang were already empty. Astonishment passed Chu Xiangyang's eyes as he looked at the beautiful young man before him. Standing behind Yi Qingtang, he was a little adrift as he gazed at his slim yet formidable figure. It was as if the shadow from his memory overlapped with this young man's back view. He still remembered that 10 years ago when the imperial power was handed down, the former emperor's position was shaky. Under pressure from the officials, that shadow glided here and beheaded the traitorous armies, calming the unrest and stabilizing the entire country. Chu Xiangyang recovered from his surprise absent-mindedly. Hundreds of guards could not withstand a blow from this young man. Cries erupted at every area that the sword aura slashed at, and countless people collapsed on the ground. A hint of nervousness was evident in Qin Chen's eyes as he witnessed the sight. He was very clear that the guards he brought were not the match of a half-step yin-yang perfected lord. Seeing that there was not even a possibility of delaying the time, Qin Chen immediately turned around and wanted to shuttle through the crowd. Yi Qingtang sharply noticed Qin Chen's attempt to flee and chased after immediately. All Qin Chen felt was a strong oppressive force from his back. Simply unable to react in time, he suddenly felt a tug on his back, and he was instantly pulled back on the back of his collar by Yi Qingtang. Chapter 787 A Fierce Struggle 1. Stop! Just as Yi Qingtang grabbed Qin Chen, a furious holler rang. The premier, Qin Long, was rushing over with a large troop. Qin Chen immediately heaved a sigh of relief when he saw that his father had rushed over in time. Father, save me. Young Sir Yi, I've heard my son talking about you, and my Qin family has the intention of befriending you. May I know why you're suddenly attacking my son today? Qin Long walked over with a grim expression as he narrowed his eyes at Yi Qingtang, who was a few steps away. He brought men over after receiving the news earlier on, but he did not know how things reached this stage even when he originally wanted Qin Chen to rope Yi Qingtang in. With Qin Chen in Yi Qingtang's hands currently, Qin Long did not dare to adopt too tough of a stance. Yi Qingtang looked emotionlessly at Qin Long, the mastermind who brought disaster and chaos to the Nine Knights dynasty. Father, he wants to stop the jail wagon and rescue Chu Xiangyang, Qin Chen said. Qin Long frowned slightly. His eyes swept across the haphazard scene before him, and a trace of confusion flashed across his eyes when he saw the unscathed Chu Xiangyang. How was Chu Xiangyang related to this young man? Why did this young man want to rescue him? Young Sir Yi, Chu Xiangyang committed a serious offense and is a criminal of the Nine Knights dynasty. A family has its rules and a country has its laws. I'm afraid it's against the law if you wish to rescue this person, Qin Long said with a sincere expression. What offense did he commit? Yi Qingtang asked coldly. Qin Long smiled and nodded at a guard beside him subsequently. That guard stepped forward and handed a stack of files to Qin Long. Qin Long publicly opened the file of which listed many offenses. As the city lord of Fuling City, Chu Xiangyang concealed the true state of affairs from above and below oneself, behaved unscrupulously, and even persecuted the citizens of Fuling City, causing many to die. Why must you rescue such a criminal, young Sir Yi? Fury boiled within Chu Xiangyang as he looked at the groundless crimes. Qin Long, those people I killed are your supporters. They are then the ones who tyrannized Fuling City. Not only did they forcefully snatch female citizens, but they even slaughtered everyone from their family. What wrong do I have for killing them? Qin Long responded with a calm expression. A family has its rules and a country has its laws. If they did something wrong, you just need to put them on trial. Why do you need to lynch them? Put them on trial? In the entire Nine Knights dynasty, who dares to try someone from the Qin family? Even if I put them on trial, those evildoers will still eventually go unpunished and be set free, Chu Xiangyang said coldly. Qin Long looked at Chu Xiangyang, who could no longer hold his fury. The people are already dead. No matter what you say, isn't it all because of you? He directly looked at Yi Qingtang right after and said, Young Sir Yi, you are a reasonable person. Since you are doubtful of Chu Xiangyang's offense, why don't you release my son first? After that, we can slowly discuss. Yi Qingtang looked at the sanctimonious Qin Long coldly. In her previous life, she stayed in the Nine Knights dynasty for quite some time, and she was very clear of the Qin family's way. In the Nine Knights dynasty, there was nothing that the Qin family clan did not dare to do. How many loyal officials fell to the Qin family's evil schemes? How many citizens were butchered by the Qin family? If she believed in Qin Long's words, she would truly be a fool. If I release your son, I'm afraid you will never let me leave the monarch city, Yi Qingtang said indifferently. A vicious look flashed across Qin Long's eyes. Does this mean you wish to acquiesce to something after having refused my first overture? You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.